Yep.
No mai haere mai. Welcome everyone to our February 2022 formal meeting for the first one for this year. I hope that you've all had a pleasant holiday season and also coping with the COVID situation that we're currently in. So I won't go through any health and safety apart from asking you to be responsible and manage your own health and safety, seeing as we're all zooming from our homes or other premises. So that's item 1. We'll go on to item 2, which is our Toaki Roto, our opening karakia. Kia noi a tātou. Tēnei au, tēnei mātou. He kaikonehera, he kawinga I ngā whakataunga, I ngā tikanga, ki uta, ki tai. Kia rewa, ai ngā iwi katoa o te katokuru. Humie, huie, tai. Thank you, team. Item 3, apologies. There aren't any that I'm aware of. Anyone else? Well, obviously you would, yeah, sorry. So no apologies, Chris. Item 4, declarations of conflicts of interest. We'll take as we go, unless there's someone that would like to declare something now. No. Okay, sorry, I missed a step. I would like to take the time to acknowledge 2 of our 2 losses of valued TTMAC tangata whenua members over the past months or over the holiday season. Victor Holloway, who represented Ngāti Tara, and Hoki Tua, who represented Te Urunga o Whaina Roa. Yeah. Firstly, a tribute to Victor from his beloved Taipa community. They shared this with us. Please pass on to them all at TTMAC how much he loved his work with them and look forward to attending hui he enjoyed making a difference. His passion for this work was his life's absolute pleasure, and we certainly got that when we had the pleasure of his company. This Englishman, who was a true gentleman, will be sincerely and sadly missed by our hapu, and the same goes for council. Secondly, a tribute to Hoki Tua, brother of Whainora Ramaka, who proudly represented his whānau, hapu and iwi at TTMAC. We have organised as NRC a koha for their whānau on behalf of NRC, and it will be delivered when appropriate. May they rest in peace. Moe mai rā e ngā rangatira, moe mai rā te moe ngā roa. Apologies for the pronunciation if I did get some of those incorrect. So thank you everyone. Did we want to have a minute's silence for our TTMAC members? We'll do so now. Thank you. Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora, Penny.
Chris, I see we haven't got Danny on. Was there an apology from Danny, just to double check?
No, I did just check before. He did accept the invite, so I haven't heard anything further.
All right, he may join us later. All right, so we'll go on to item 5, which is the council minutes and action sheet. So 5.1 on page 6 for councillors. Okay, 2 screens today, so it may take me a little while. So the recommendation is that the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of December 2021 confirmed as a true and correct record. Could I have a move?
I'll move that. Yep.
I'll second Kitchen. Thank you.
So that's Rick and Colin. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Are there any matters arising from the minutes? No, thank you. 5.2 is receipt of the action sheet, which is page 15. I think from memory there are only 2 actions there. The recommendation is that the action sheet be received. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thanks, Amy. Seconded, Marty. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Any questions, comments on those actions? It looks like they're both, the first one's complete, the other ones will be by the end of today. End of this meeting? No?
Yep, that's right.
Yep. Okay, I think I had made a wee comment here that back in the minutes from last December that the extra staff leave was a huge success. It went down very well. So well done, councillors. Okay, decision-making matters 7.1, which is page 28. Northland Regional Council and Department of Conservation Memorandum Understanding. So
excuse me, Chair. I think we've just skipped a few. Yeah, we should be back on page 17.
I was flicking past the good or the not so good news for the financial report. Sorry about that, guys. Financial report to 31st of January 2021, 6.1. Sorry.
I'm happy to move. I'll move.
Page 17. Right. Yeah, it's just the one recommendation. So Rick and Jack, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Carried. So are there any questions or comments? Stuart, did you have anything you wanted to? Oh, sorry, we're going to have a verbal update from staff here, aren't we? We want to do that first?
Yes, Chair. Bruce, are you able to do that? Is Bruce there?
There was something sent through last night. Did you want to, yeah, which we all would have read, Bruce? So any further comments?
No further comments, Chair. I think that email that I sent through last night clearly showed what the change in position was. And the team, Vincent and Simon, are here to help answer any questions. If you have any further questions on that.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. So we'll go to you, Stuart.
Sorry, Chair, I just wonder whether Bruce shouldn't just state what the changes are just for the record and for the minutes.
Yes, sorry, good point too, Josh, same thing. Okay, over to you, Bruce.
Okay, thanks. So overall, the investment funds experienced a monthly negative return in January of $1.87 million. I just note that that's a non-realised monthly loss that reflects a decrease in the value of the short-term fund and the long-term investment funds. And also note, despite the poor investment performance in the month of January, the investment funds have generated positive gains for the 7 months of the financial year of $447,000. However, that is $1.87 million below the corresponding year-to-date gains budgeted for. So after adjusting the financial report to reflect the actual January fund performance and the associated recapitalisations and reserve transfers, the year-to-date overall surplus after transfers from to reserves has reduced to 6.7 million from 7.85 million. So that now represents a variance of $80,000 lower than year-to-date budget.
Thank you, Bruce.
Did I hear you say 80? It was 800,000.
80,000.
80,000. Thank you.
Okay, so we will now go to Stuart.
Yes, I'd just say that that's probably not, there's nothing that's not already been roadmapped to council over recent months. in terms of, the discussion around what the short-term and the long-term fund could experience in terms of market volatility. And certainly it absolutely reflects what went on in January. I would just perhaps recommend to management that they carefully consider monitoring forward cash flows, just in terms of potential impacts to transfers to and from reserves. And that would be potentially as a consequence of further declines in this financial year, in coming months. And that would be just my only comment on that.
Thank you, Stuart. Are there any comments or questions from councillors? If you wouldn't mind using your hand or your reaction. So Rick and then Jack.
Look, I just want to say, back up what Stuart said. I know Jonathan's not here, but he's been predicting it for, and I think this is a blip, not a huge hit. So we've just got to expect more, like Stuart said, possibly. Who knows what's happening, but it's well overdue. And thank you for the update as soon as you knew from Bruce and the team. So we've just got to be prepared for this. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Jack?
I started to thank Bruce for the update. It's inevitable. I'm not going to question that. But my question's about, I'd just like some explanation around about the Kaipara Moana remediation. I see here we've got a unfavourable balance of 234, and the remediation cost of 39,000 will be recovered from the entity. So the rest, is that basically our annual, if that's our annual cost to KMR, how come it's such a big unfavourable variance right now? So a little bit of explanation, I guess, would be nice.
Thanks, Councillor Craw. I might just ask Vincent if he could help answer that question, please.
Hello, good morning, councillors. So the money represented there mostly relates to the salaries for the Kaipara Moana staff, which is going to be part of our contribution cash contribution to the program. The money represented there also relates to staff efforts or labour charged to that area. So overall, the program won't cost us any more than budgeted. It's just kind of a reflection of where the time is spent and then the cash that we'll recover from them. The budget for our contribution to the KMR program actually sits in the environmental services area, and I've had some queries from the CEO about that. I might reword the report next month to better reflect where the money is coming from and where it goes.
So I'm still a little bit at sea here. So it's not costing more than we anticipate. It's just that costing more in the short term. Basically a timing issue, is it?
It's more of a allocation of budget issue. So the budget sits in one place and then the KMR costs sit in another. So I need to move some things around or write some more text to better explain what's really going on there.
Okay, thank you. I'm satisfied.
Thanks, Jack. Justin?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a very quick question about the, obviously we've got the operational reserves sitting there, to manage a situation where, returns from managed funds, are low when we can't, use them to support operations. But is there any thought being applied to, if the situation got so dire that we went into a second year of an operational, deficit? I mean, it'll be next term. It won't be this council that deals with it. But what is the thinking, if any, from staff?
We currently, as you know, Councillor Blakey, we have the $2.2 million OPEX reserve for this financial year. We haven't needed to utilise that at all this year, and I can't speculate as to what's going to happen next financial year. And what we've done in past years, when we didn't have an operational reserve, is we've had to make cuts to programs and bring those back to council for approval.
Sufficient, Justin?
Yep, that's sufficient, but I mean, just thinking back to the last finance, and property subcommittee meeting, there was some commentary that, indicated that, maybe the downturns in the markets could be, quite long enough to sort of potentially have, impacts beyond that, and use up all of that operational reserve. So I'm just, I'm wondering if there's any thought being, but, I acknowledge, Bruce, it's not something that we've ever had to deal with, so I can see why we haven't really put any thought into it, but
yeah, I'd say there'd be thought going into it, but just it's a bit of an unknown. But Malcolm, you've got some comments.
Yeah, Chair, I think it's fair to say that we haven't really sort of applied our mind to what steps to take if the current situation in January were to persist for a number of months. At the moment, we still, I wouldn't say comfortable, it's not necessarily the right word, but we still within budget, and we've got that operation because we haven't brought that operational reserve into use yet. However, if we were to have to use that to get through till June, it would then make quite a major impact on next year's budget, and we would have to do a full reassessment as we did at the beginning of COVID on what our budgets would likely be for the following financial year starting 1 July. But that work hasn't commenced yet because we haven't felt that the direction is sufficiently strong for us to be able to make assumptions around that. I suppose we're also just a little bit conscious that we were overly conservative last time and not wanting to make those mistakes again.
yeah, thank you, Malcolm, that's good.
Yeah, good question, Justin and Hunter. Stuart, you've got your mute off. Did you want to?
I just as a heads up, I think it's also probably worthwhile just mentioning to councillors that we should sort of manage expectations a little bit around the long-term fund and the short-term fund performance benchmarks, because they have gone up quite significantly. The long-term fund is measured on CPI plus 4.5%, and that measurement of CPI has gone up to 3.1%. and it will be continuing to go up. So that's going to be a constantly moving upward target over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. It's currently 7.6%. That's the required return that we're wanting to see from the long-term fund. And I thought I'd just make that point because it's going to be tough to see returns, but the returns meeting targets are going to be even probably tougher in this period. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up about that. It does sort of to manage expectations.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. Terry, your mute's off. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm right. Thanks, Penny. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions or comments from councillors?
Yeah, I just had one additional question, Penny, just in the regulatory and planning services, the variation there on compliance and monitoring costs. I'm not sure if I can get a percentage answer now, but if you didn't offset it with the unspent salaries, what that percentage variation would be, how significant is it? I don't need an answer immediately, but because it doesn't look very big when you offset it with the unspent salaries, but it's quite a significant amount. It's over 100K. So don't need an answer today if there's not one forthcoming, but I'll be interested to know.
So, Vince, yeah.
I was just going to say we can provide that at a later date if you like.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll leave that financials there. 6.2 on page 21 is the update to delegations. So there's 2 recommendations there. I'll take number 1, that the report be received. Mover and seconder, please. Mover.
I'll move that.
Oh, Amy and Justin, if you can second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. So is there a mover and seconder for recommendation 2?
Yes.
Rick and
Yep.
Justin, thank you. So any questions or comments on recommendation 2?
No questions from me.
No.
No comments, no questions.
I just had one, and I see that Casey will be seconded to the enterprise, and Kim will then move up to Casey's position. So that will leave Kim's position vacant. So who's going to take that place, and will they still have the same skills and expertise as Kim has?
The answer is yes, Chair. We are going to backfill those positions as part of the enterprise project. So Simon's got a plan in place for his team to ensure that they can continue to operate as they currently do.
Okay. So that new person will be part of these new delegations. Is that correct?
If they're not specified in those delegations, they won't be. I just can't recall. Delegations.
Isn't Kim in one of the delegations?
Yeah, so Kim is the assistant management accountant, but she will move up to the acting management accountant role when she goes into Casey goes into enterprise.
Yeah, and so whoever takes Kim's role will.
Not necessarily, because they may not be the assistant management accountant.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So you operations will make that call. Okay. All right. So no further questions or comments. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. So we'll move on to item 7, where I left off. 7.1 is the memorandum of understanding, which is on page 28 with Department of Conservation. So we have 2 recommendations there. I think we could probably take them both together. Justin, are you moving the motion?
Yeah, I'll move those.
Jack seconded. Thank you. Sorry, Amy. Next time. Any questions, discussion? No, a very good move, and I think we're all looking forward to the reviews and the annual reports. Can I just ask when the first report will be? Somebody?
Chair, just checking with Jonathan. I'm not aware that the date has been set, but
Kia ora, Chair. The proposal is that it's annual review and quarterly reports. So we'll schedule them with council quarterly post the signing of the MOU. We also need to do similar reports to the Northland Conservation Board.
Okay, so once it's signed. So when do you anticipate the signing it? After, like we've presented something today? And
yeah. Now that you guys have, now that it's been endorsed by council, we'll re-engage with Department of Conservation and see how they've gotten on seeking approval to sign it there as well. And we'll come back to you with whether we do a little signing ceremony or whether it's just signed individually at individual councils. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Like I say, very, very solid step forward. Not that we haven't already had one, but this is a step up. So well done, team. All those in favour of recommendations 1 and 2?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you. 7.2, which is on page 32. Te Pai Tawhiti, our vision. So this is our final version of this. It's been through a few iterations, and I think we've landed on a good one. So thank you to the team, Ben and the team for this. We have just there's 3 recommendations there. We could take them all together, I think. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved Jack, seconded.
Richard.
Thank you, Colin. Comments or questions? Justin, did you have something?
No, I was just saying, go forth and conquer now. We've got the vision and the statement, so go forth and conquer.
Cool.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to thank everyone involved with the creation of this, including the designers. I think it's a splendid document, and thanks to everybody.
Nice. Thank you, Jack. Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Item 7.3, which is on page 45. Water Resilience Fund, the criteria process and long-term plan year 1 allocation. So this is another awesome project that is going to make a huge difference. So thank you to the team as well, Tony and the team. We have 3 recommendations there. Is everyone happy that we take them all together?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Aye.
So mover Justin, seconded Rick. Thank you.
Yep.
Marty, did you have, or were you moving and seconding? Oh no, you're all good. Any questions or comments? Or Tony, would you like to make some comments?
No, thanks. I'm fine if the councillors are fine.
You're looking very relaxed. That's good. I hope it's all going well for you. You're still part of this project, though, aren't you?
Yes, I'm still following this. Yeah, got a little more to do on this to get it all happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Good on you, Tony. Good to see you.
Okay, well, looks like everyone's very happy. Oh, Justin, sorry. Not the
Oh yeah, yeah. I just want to reiterate. I think this is a really just to see this actually launched. From thinking back to the LTP. All our discussions in the LTP and some of the uncertainty that we had in terms of leading this piece of work, and subsequently seeing I believe the investment from central government into the far north with all the water resiliency work up there. I think that was a direct flow on from the leadership that we took in this space. I'm really keen to actually examine what further we might do in terms of advocating for common sense approaches to managing water. To give you an example, particularly in the Hokianga, the township of Omapiri and Opanoni is just going gangbusters. So property prices there, the prices for sections have trebled in the last 12 months in Opanoni and Omapiri. So demand is very high. And I do have concerns about the capacity of the municipal wastewater treatment plant and also the municipal drinking water supply in that township to cope with what I see as huge demand and huge potential growth in the coming years. So I'd be interested to hear from staff as to what forums or where we might go to start conversations around how we manage pressures on these community, the infrastructure in these communities.
It's at the moment a district council bag, I think. Well, I know, and then it will become Three Waters, won't it?
Well, Penny, essentially it is Three Waters, but not in all circumstances. So I might give some examples of my thinking is that, water tanks, are they compulsory for new builds? I think they are. I'd like to find out a bit more than that. And then second to that, we have discussed on numerous occasions the concept of grey water separation in those communities. And that really is a function of the local building authority, which may remain within the TA's responsibilities.
Yeah, so we're getting slightly off track here because, and I'd like to we can maybe take that conversation into Councillor Onitama workshop, Justin. That's okay. Yeah. But certainly an issue. So we'll keep going, I think. So all those in favour of recommendations 1 to 3?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again, Tony, and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, Tony.
So we'll go on to 7.4, which is on page 50. NRC, draft NRC feedback, which is discussion document on resource management system reform. Justin Murfitt's done a lot of great work on this. Thank you, Justin. I'm not sure that you're on, but if someone could take that back to him, very appreciative and very important, and hopefully it gets listened to. So we have got 4 recommendations there. If we could take them all, if everyone's happy, 1 to 4, mover and seconder, please. Thank you, Joss. Seconded, Jack. Any comments, questions? No, it's a very good read. If anyone live streaming would like to go there, it makes a lot of sense. And like I say, hopefully it'll be listened to. So all those in favour? Against?
Aye.
Carried. Another submission, 7.5, which is on page 73. Proposed changes to the National Environmental Standards for Drinking Water. Our council submission, again, penned very well and ably by Justin Murfitt. The 3 recommendations there, if we could take them all together. Could I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Joss and Jack. Perfect. Any comments, questions? No. Okay. All those in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Carried. Okay, 7.6, which is the Maritime Safety Management System on page 78. Three recommendations there. This is to do with the Port and Harbour Safety Code.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very keen to move those. Thanks.
Rick, seconded Colin, thank you.
Richard, second. Thank you.
Any comments from anyone? Quite a critical thing to have. Jack, yes.
You think a good report, which I support. I just think maybe a link to the code would be nice so we can understand what the code that we're supporting looks like.
Would you like that to be provided to you?
Yes.
Post the meeting?
Well, I think it could be put in a link could be put in the minutes so we can all have a wee look. So I support. It says that we support the code, but it doesn't give us a link to the code. So,
okay.
I mean, I did have a read of last year's version, but I don't know if it's still current. I guess it probably is. You know, I don't need a reply from staff. I just think that if we can have a link to the code that we're actually supporting would be advantageous to all.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. Point taken. There's no other comments, questions. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's carried. Page 82, 7.7. Solar energy expansion at Water Street Whangarei. So that's the NRC building in Water Street. Some extra solar there to assist in our climate change objectives. We have 2 recommendations there. Amy, I'm sure you'd like to move. And seconder?
I'll second it, Chair. Jerry.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? No. And just to let live streamers know, we do also have solar in our other new builds that were specifically the Dargaville one. The service centre there, it will have solar as well. All those in favour of recommendations 1 and 2? Against?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, 7.8, page 87. which is budget approval for CEO recruitment. We have 3 recommendations there. Is everyone comfortable taking them all together? Yep. Okay, mover and seconder, please. Joss, thank you. Seconded Marty. Any comments or questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. I did want to ask why we've got into the position where the recruitment costs were unbudgeted or are unbudgeted. Was it that we didn't understand the cost from the beginning of the process and they've escalated?
I think that's part of it, Justin. There was money put aside, but it's actually ending up costing us more than what we thought. And Malcolm, Joss asked the question a while ago, Councillor Yeoman, will this include some induction costs?
Chair, I imagine there's a small contribution here, but we don't plan to do most of the induction internally to try and keep the costs down as low as possible.
Mm-hmm. And it'd be fair to say that it may not cost the whole 100,000.
Oh yes, Chair. I mean, again, would hope to bring the process in under budget. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Jack. Jack.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mike. Recommendation 1 and 2 are fine. I just a little question about why the fund comes from the equalisation reserve and not from HR and salaries, because we're currently, we're well behind budget in our wage and salary budget due to being short-staffed. I'm just wondering why equalisation reserve.
Malcolm.
Chair, do you want me to respond?
Yes, thanks.
So the purpose for the equalisation reserve is to try and pick up large, unusual items of expenditure so that it doesn't flow through into rates. Otherwise, had it been budgeted in the normal salary or recruitment budget, it would have actually affected the corporate services rate that was struck last year. So the intention again was to try and keep the rates down by using the reserves that had been created. And just for the benefit of viewers, those reserves come from the profits we generate off our forestry operation. So it's effectively part of the commercial activities of council that are then used for things like this appointment, but also to fund the upcoming election and other one-off expenses so that they don't fall to rates for expenditure.
Thank you, Malcolm. Satisfied, Jack?
Yeah, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Okay. So, Justin, you've just taken your hand down. Did you still want to speak?
Oh, I had raised that issue before. I mean, given the vast amount of salaries, the huge underspend in salaries, I would have thought that some of that could have been, tagged to human resources, whereby accounting for this unbudgeted expenditure, and as you've said, Malcolm, we would not have had to increase rates at all. So, yeah. And leaving the equalisation reserve in a healthier state in the process. So, that was my. I thought it could have been handled, but I understand that the council supports it, so I'm happy to go along.
Thanks, Justin. Malcolm, did you have a reply? No.
Oh, no, Chair. I mean, it swings and roundabouts. I mean, if as a result of us taking this 100,000 out, the current surplus that is being generated by an underspend on salaries would become a surplus at the end of the year, and council can then use that money to repurpose or refund the equalisation reserve if it's realised. I think the difficulty is that we don't know until June whether those surpluses are realised or not.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Marty.
Just one other comment in support of it coming out of the equalisation fund rather than the HR is that money budgeted in HR is for particular purposes. So whether it's going to be done by staff salaries or whether it's going to be done by contract, it's still needed for those spaces. So this is an extraordinary one to be able to find the CEO.
Thank you, Marty. Yes, as much as we don't want to lose you, Malcolm, we understand that we have to find a new one. Okay, so we can, all those in favour of recommendations 1 to 3?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So that finishes off our decision-making matters. So we'll move on to operational reports, number 8. And first up is health and safety on page 91. And there is just the one recommendation there to receive the report. Could I have a mover and seconder, please?
Also move kitchen. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Seconder, AB. Thank you. Okay, so are there any questions, comments around this report?
Yes, Madam Chair, Councillor Kitchen here. Just looking at the risk management, top risk, COVID-19, which is, yep, not a problem there. I just see the next risk at 16 is working with contractors, and yeah, in the table above it says no contract were identified as having completed the contractor health and safety pre-engagement process, etc., etc. Yeah. Can any staff just elaborate on that, why that is the case? Thanks.
Chair, it is a combination of us, and I'll also ask Bruce to add because he'll have greater visibility than I do, but it is a combination of staffing resource to be able to get out. We've had to redirect a lot of our HR and health and safety staff resource to responding to COVID within the organisation. And that's meant we haven't had the staff capacity to be out in the field and doing a lot of the contractor work that would be their normal day job. And also aware that, so to try and mitigate that, we've brought in contractors, you know, HR specialist contractors to do some of the inspections, but they haven't been able to get to all of them. But Bruce, I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, thanks, Malcolm. Whilst it would appear concerning that none were pre-qualified during that period, a number of our contractors have already gone through the site-wise accreditation process. So it may be, and we don't know yet because we haven't completed the audit, but we have an audit planned, that the contractors that were engaged were already pre-qualified through the site-wise accreditation system. But we are putting in place that audit to assess what happened and also that additional support around the pre-contractor engagement and checks and some external resource to help booster that area and reduce that risk.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. And yeah, that was my next question is, okay, the contractors, they have systems in place. So no doubt when they put in for a job, put a price net in, and part of that is their health and safety policy comes to you. Is that correct?
Correct. That's part of the overall checks and balances that are put in place when a contractor is engaged.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Thank you, Colin. Rick, Jack.
I'd just like to make a comment on, for the benefit of those members of the public who are joining the live feed, is we've discussed this issue in council because if you read this item, it doesn't look that good, but it's really all due to the ripples of COVID. We're currently short-staffed and we're currently having a lot of staff working remotely, and that's had, you know, flow-on effects with being able to recruit. HR, health and safety, and also program delivery. Now, we're not on our own. This is a problem shared by every company, every council, and every government department. And wherever you look in New Zealand right now, you can't get staff. We've also got historically lowest unemployment we've ever had. So it's a bit of a nightmare for recruiting staff. So, but just to let everyone know that council is very aware of it, and we're giving the CEO and the ELT all the support that we believe that they need to be able to deliver safely and to keep staff safety paramount. Some programs will be delivered a little late, but that's an unfortunate side effect of the pandemic that we're living through. So I don't want anyone to panic. I think council have this matter in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Malcolm, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I do need to just flag with council that we are going into a period of elevated risk, in that we've just recently had the resignation of our senior health and safety officer. We've done a full assessment of the likely actions that are needed over the next 6 to 8 weeks, within which we hope to be able to recruit a new person for health and safety, and are in the process of setting up external contractors to be able to address those highest risk areas of the business that we've identified while we don't have the staff member in place. If it turns out that we're unable to fill the role within the next 8 weeks or so, we'll have to do a further assessment and then extend things further. But so just so that councillors are aware that we are short-staffed at the moment on this one, but we have put contractors in place to try and bolster the work that we're doing.
Yes, thank you, Malcolm. And like Jack said, it's not an easy situation for anyone, and it is impacting. Okay, so no further questions or comments. All those in favour of receiving the report?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 8.2, page 97, the Chair's report to Council. So there are some changes that need to be made to this one. Sorry, team. Just in the meetings there, the local government regional sector meeting and the Northland mayoral meeting, they were actually held in November and were recorded in December, that I attended and Malcolm attended as well. And I did attend one other meeting with myself and our GM, Potutaki Taio, Natural Resources, with the Northland Forestry Environmental Working Party, 2 of their members. So just Chris is aware of these changes, so she will just make them, add them in. So with that, I would like to move that my report be received. Does it need to be an amendment, Chris?
No, that's fine. I'll just make a secretarial note with those changes. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Marty. Any questions or comments? No? Cool. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thanks. Carried. All right, so we'll move on to the highlight of the agenda, the Chief Executive's report to Council, which is on page 99. Certainly a lot longer than mine. If someone could move, I'll move that it be received. Is there a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rick. Comments or questions? If you could just give us the page number that you're on, if there are any comments or questions, team, that's a bit easier. Anyone? No. Comprehensive report, Malcolm. Easy month, eh? Good on you. Lots of work done, lots of great work done. Love the highlights, especially the pictures of the Kiwi, and particularly good read these reports. They go to our TTMAC members, and I always put a link to them in the columns that I write for my Kite for Lifestyle paper too, because I think that they're the best way to get the information as to what we're doing. So all those in favour of accepting Malcolm's report? Anyone against? Carried. So then we move on to 8.4, page 139, which is the Emergency Services Fund 2020-2021 report. So just bear in mind that it wasn't any life-saving, surf life-saving was not this summer just gone, it was the one before, so it is in that report. Could I have a mover and seconder? Rick, thank you. I've got your mic. And seconder, Amy, thank you. So comprehensive reports, the links are there. Any questions or comments from anyone? Yes, Rick.
No, thanks for that. And I know we were explained that it was delayed. I think it was due late last year. But it is a shame that we're getting 21 report now. We need an update on the 22 report. So, because that is quite a bit different in all of those services, I feel. So I don't know if there's any, I'm trying to get down to that page, but is there any explanation why it is so late? Anyway, I just think it needs to be acknowledged that the other one will be coming actually quite soon after this one. We won't have to wait a year for the 22 report.
Yeah, that's correct. So Victoria would just like to comment there.
Yes, through the chair. So this was delayed due to the change in group managers towards the end of last year. It was due out. It's always the end of the year. So this is the first time I've been able to get this report into council, having started the new role. And the next one is due sort of August, September time.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. Any further questions, comments? Yes, Stuart.
I just make a point that some of those reports may also be being audited by Audit New Zealand, and they are way behind on their audits and statutory audits. And it's not only with councils, but it's also with some of the non-profit organisations and trusts and others. So that could also be a reason, Rick, why you're getting a lot of this information extremely late.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing more. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Carried. So the last of the reports, operational reports, 8.5 on page 169, which is reporting on long-term plan 2021-2031 performance measures for quarters 1 and 2 of the 2021-22 year. Thank you, Robin. Good report. So there is just the one recommendation there. Could I have a mover and seconder, please?
Also move, Kitchen.
Joss and Colin seconded. Thank you. So I did have Danny down here for a comment, but he's not on at all. No. Colin, would you like to make any comments on this one?
No, I'll take the report as read, and we have, just for the purpose of the people live greeting, a lot of these things we talk about, but we have workshopped them, so yeah, and we're just rubber stamping here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just had one question on the deep dive report. What's the time frame on that, and the deep dive, does that come to council eventually? Who might there be on to answer that? Bruce?
Yeah, Bruce. Is there?
Sorry about that. Yes, there will be a summary coming through to council on the deep dive outcomes, and they'll be reported through with the minutes from the committee as well.
Okay, and so how long do you anticipate a deep dive taking, or is it dependent on what's being deep dived?
Just part of our normal process that we do in reporting to the committee and council.
Okay, but it would be like a quarter, like 3 months deep dive, or
quarterly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quarterly. Yeah, we were looking at longer period, but I think the council's recommendation was that it be a shorter term. Is that right, Bruce?
Yes, I think we agreed to quarterly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a proposed alteration here. Does that not need to be a recommendation? Or is it just because it's sort of changing a previous decision, isn't it?
Yes, it does modify that previous decision.
Or will that be more of a terms of reference for the Audit and Risk Committee change?
Well, one approach would be to update those terms of reference just to reflect that change. Maybe an appropriate way forward.
And bring
Okay,
up
so
the next committee meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave that for you, Toss. If everyone's happy with that approach. Okay, all those in favour of receiving the report? Against?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, we're on to items 9, receipt of committee minutes and working party group updates. 9.1 is on page 171. And there are a number here. Civil Defence Emergency Management Group. Oh, hang on. So I'll
Move those,
ask
Penny.
the mover and seconder for accepting those reports. Thank
I'll
you,
move
Marty. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, CDM, Rick, any comments from you?
Oh, so there have been a number of meetings with the minister, and she's definitely back in full form. And I guess we've got a meeting coming up soon. And you know, in terms of progress, I do want to support the team. It's been a you know, messy. Again, we think we're over things, and then something else crops up with the fires and all those issues. So well done, team, and we definitely support you in that. So I'd like to. I'm sure the rest of the councillors back me in that. There's nothing particular in this report, and just want to support the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Kaipara Moana Remediation Joint Committee meeting. We had 2 of those, November, December. I guess comments from me, and then I can go to Joss and Amy. The new Hotataki is working exceptionally hard, as the whole Murikura team, and they've got things looking good to be on track to get a lot of planting done this winter. Fair to say we've got some headwinds, COVID, also, you know, the normal ones, the mainly COVID actually, and just getting things up and running, I guess, always takes a bit longer than what you expect. But like I say, it's moving forward very well now. Very confident that the new GM will do an exceptional job. Anything from Amy or Joss? We had another meeting yesterday, which the minutes will be out of. The website is really good read, actually. So everything's up and running on the website, which I believe you had something to do with, Joss. So thank you for that.
Yeah, just support that, Penny. I think it feels quite exciting, the point that we're at now, to have the Murikura up and running and some really good staff on board there. So yeah, it's cool to see how the momentum has sort of come together, and now we're ready to do the doing, which is great.
Yeah, really impressed with the calibre of staff, actually. Unfortunately, they've been poached from the other place, but yeah. Joss.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I had to change devices there for a minute. So yeah, I suppose the 2 points for me that I'd highlight would be the fact that we are trying to accelerate as much as possible work on the ground to get as many plants in as possible, and that's something that's been progressing through this next meeting we've just had. So those who are very keen to make sure that we're actually achieving what we need to in terms of getting planting out there, that is certainly top of mind in terms of both the Murikura and the governance body. And the other key thing for me, I suppose, is just the tools that are being generated by Kaipara Moana, and they are ones that hopefully will actually impact and replicate across Northland in some way. And so there's a vast amount of wealth in the what's being generated by this project that will translate really well. And so I think that's another key highlight of the work that's coming out. And while we've got some real issues in terms of COVID interruptions like everybody else, and various other things that are going against us, I think the scope of what is being achieved and where we're heading is quite dramatic for Northland. So really very supportive of where we've got to and looking forward to seeing what comes out in the next few years from this work.
Thank you, Joss. And just lastly for me, so we've had MPI representatives or a representative at our last meeting and workshop, and they are comfortable in understanding of where we are, and I think confident as well, if I could be so bold. And it's Tataki, isn't it? Not Totaki. Okay, so next up is joint climate change adaptation meeting minutes. Bit of a mouthful. Amy.
Kia ora, thanks, Penny. Yeah, we had a good meeting in November, and there was quite a fulsome discussion had, but we achieved the signing off of the draft Te Pai Tokoro climate change adaptation strategy, which was a big achievement because it's all 4 Northland councils signing on to something together. So there's a lot of work that went in, and big credit to staff, both our NRC staff, but the staff across those 4 councils for the work that they've done with their individual councils and also collectively with that joint committee to get something that everybody can sign up to. So that was really positive. And so we're just sort of doing the finishing touches on that. We have a meeting coming up soon. And then the other thing which occupied quite a lot of time was an exercise sort of beginning to work on the branding and identity for the group and for the work. And again, it's that complexity of 4 councils coming together and working together and how we express that. And it's also the joint committee with our tangata whenua members as well. So how do we kind of have an identity and a brand for the work and for that group that are doing the work? So that's a work in progress, but great, we got a subgroup sorted and they've been workshopping that. So some quite big things, sort of, I guess, big fundamentals we're still working on, but we had a good meeting and good progress has happened in the time between, even though it was the Christmas break. I know that the staff in that small subgroup had some really productive conversations. So I look forward to our next meeting. And if anyone's got questions, is that a question for me, Justin?
I was going to take questions at the end. Is that okay?
It's fine. I can wait.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, great progress there. Well done. Regional Transport Committee, Rick.
Thanks, Penny. I guess it's not so much what's in these minutes, but what's coming up, that we're changing our format, really. The RTC is going to quarterly meetings, just like civil defence. We've had a discussion with our elected members and they're all happy with this. This will give us a little bit more time at meetings to have a bit more informed and general discussion on transport issues in their area. So we believe it's a good move, and I do want to thank our new GM, Victoria, for the work she's put into that and the suggestions she's come up with and the new agenda, which will be coming out soon. So thank you, Victoria. It's a good move, and I think it'll give our elected members a much better chance to get their views across in their area. And the second one I really want to support is the initiative by Waka Kotahi in their Road to Zero campaign and their safety campaign. We're all disappointed in the canning of the 4-laning highway, but the initiative from Road to Zero with the safety improvements is something all members of RTC and I believe all councils within the region need to get behind. That includes the speed limit reviews, which I know is controversial, but it is aimed at the Road to Zero campaign, which is a slow progressing campaign, but it has worked in other countries and the evidence shows that it does work. So we want to make sure we support those. So those are the two main things: the change of format for the meetings, giving councillors, all elected councillors, a better chance to contribute, and backing the Road to Zero campaign by Waka Kotahi. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And lastly, Te Aotearoa Atohi board minutes. Marty or Colin? I wasn't sure. Marty, is it you?
Yeah, let Marty, you lead off, Mark.
Yeah, cheers, Toss. Yeah, really good cohesive group developing out of the beach management plan with the 4 iwi and both councils, but also great support by the spat collectors and in trying to do the best for the beach, which is a common kaupapa and a common taonga, and also the Te Araroa Trail are there at every meeting. So there's been really good input. So it's a team at the moment, having achieved the plan. We're still trying to get make sure that we can bed in runs on the board, small successes, to actually put it out there to the whole community that yeah, it's actually working. We're still waiting for speed limit to come through from the council, but and also trying to promote no ashes on the beaches, both with the undertakers, but also try and get out there nationwide. That is just you don't just spread ashes wherever you want to. There's codes to go through. Also signage and the dog problem. So it's just ongoing reports. We're looking at going bi-monthly, which is enough to let action on the ground happen without having to report back all the time. So that's just work in progress. Happy to take any questions. Yeah, or Toss, have you got anything further you want to add?
Yeah, just the one on the dogs. There was bylaw and AHPA, and I don't think it extended right up to 90 Mile Beach. So there's a bit of work to do there with the Whānau Central Council and the bylaws on dogs to extend that. The one with ashes, I believe, as a group, we may be looking at. There has been talk of putting a memorial thing up the beach there that you may be able to use that for the ashes. Is that correct, Marty? Did I?
Yeah, there was talk about, you know, and people having their last wishes to go to the beach. Yeah. At the moment, there's nowhere that they can go there. So yeah, there's look at where can there be a berm, or you know, on whose rohe, which marae might or might not accept it. So that's a challenge.
Yeah. There's that one, and just the other one is we've been doing a lot of work with the Snapper Bonanza people, just getting that partnership relationship going. And unfortunately, the Snapper Bonanza is cancelled this year because of COVID-19. So, but we're still going to have people up the beach. I think some of the local hotels. I think on the Wednesday, when the Snapper Bonanza was going to be on, now on the Wednesday they're running a competition out of Collard's Tavern for 100 anglers, and then on the Thursday, Awanui Hotel for 100 anglers, and then on the Friday and Saturday out of Waipap. So we're still going to get visitors up to the north here, but just having them in a sort of controlled environment. So yeah, so we're still going to get a bit of economic development. It's not going to be all lost. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone. Questions, comments? Justin, you had something.
Yeah, firstly to Councillor McDonald, yeah, congratulations, Amy, pulling together, you know, and getting that sign off on the adaptation strategy for Te Tai Tokerau with all the other councils is no mean feat. So well done there in your chairing role. I did have a question, you know, now that the strategy's sort of been adopted, I remember, I think it was John O'Gibbard, you know, I raised the questions about, you know, how we're going to identify priority communities, you know, that are going to be part of the first tranche of, I guess, adaptation plans, all that, really just that conversation with communities about how they're going to start getting their heads around climate change in the coastal space. So what's your understanding of that prioritisation process? Where is it at? I did raise it with Malcolm and Victoria earlier this week and I have got a response, but I'm just wondering, you know, what's your view on that prioritisation process?
Thanks, Justin. As I understand it, that process is led by the district councils themselves. So NRC has a role. We've got some budget in the long-term plan to support that mihi, to help them get going once they have identified. Essentially, they're going to start with one each to get going, and it's because it's pretty much a learn as you go, implementing the tools that have been developed. And in the next meeting, there's something on the agenda about it. So when the agenda comes out, I'll make sure you get to have a look at it, and that is publicly available. So I think in terms of NRC's role, we are happy to support with staff input and knowledge, knowing that right now we're actually still waiting for some of those roles to be filled. But once they're filled, we'll be able to support the district councils. And we do have some financial support for the district councils, but at the end of the day, it is the district councils that take the lead on that work. Victoria, I don't know if you want to add anything to that from your perspective.
No, that's correct, Amy, and that was the response that we gave via email earlier on today. So there is a process called Dynamic Adaptive Pathways Planning that the district councils will be using to assess the community that they want to start the pilot project on. And just to reiterate what Councillor MacDonald said, we do have funding this financial year to support the district councils in a pilot project. So we've encouraged them to identify as soon as possible where they would like to start, and so we can offer that funding for them this year. So KDC have currently taken up that funding opportunity, and we're just encouraging FNDC and WDC to also identify where we can help them out.
Okay. Any further questions for any of the other or any chairs?
Oh yeah, just a comment, Madam Chair, on you know, the road to zero. You know, I fully support any initiatives, you know, to reduce deaths associated with, you know, transport. But I actually see it partially as a bit of a cop out from NZTA. You know, I listened to the commentary on the national radio just last week, and essentially what some people are saying is that, you know, because the surfacing of Northland's roads are so poor, that the only choice, well, what the direction has been is that we're going to reduce the speed limits. You know, instead of fixing the roads and bringing it up to the standard that the rest of New Zealand enjoys, what we'll do is we'll reduce speeds.
Yeah,
So
it's quite a controversial issue, I think, and it pays to do. And we will get all the information when they go out to consult. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That'll happen.
And that hasn't happened yet. They will be definitely be going out to consult. So, all right. So, all those in favour of accepting those reports?
Aye.
Against? Carried. So 9.2 is working party updates and chairperson's briefing. And Justin, I think was only the land and water. So any comments?
Yes, we were the hardworking working party that kept going even into December. So you're not really any major updates. Obviously, we've had 2 subsequent workshops on the future direction of the land management team. So I just want to acknowledge, you know, Jono and Ruben and their team. You know, that's a huge piece of work. You know, and also acknowledge the whole of the council for their, you know, all the input into the conversations around the future of that land management team. It's obviously something that we're all deeply passionate about, given the, you know, the breadth of the material covered in those workshops. But yeah, that's all really I've got to say about that previous meeting. But you also, you know, acknowledge the passing of Victor, you know, and his contribution to the working party.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Yes, thank you, Chris. I had just realised I didn't ask for a mover and seconder, so obviously you'll move, Justin. And seconder, please. Thank you, Joss. Joss, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, could we please add a secretarial note that the Planning and Regulatory Working Party actually did meet in December as well. I have been trying to chase up what's happened to the minutes from that meeting. Not quite sure what's happened there, team, but obviously had a wee glitch. So yeah, we did meet in December, and the core of the work is ongoing with the plan change. So, I mean, that's the easiest way to put it for this at this point in time. And no doubt those minutes will come through.
Yeah, possibly next meeting. Chris, did you want to update us on that?
Yeah, I was just going to support Joss there. We did try to get those minutes in for this agenda, but they weren't available. So we will make sure they go to March.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Joss. Okay, all those in favour of accepting the water and land?
Aye.
Against? Carried. And thanks, Justin, for the update. So that brings us to the end of our public meeting. I'd now like to, and thank you to all those who have been live streaming. It's always good to have people being informed firsthand. So enjoy the rest of your day. So I'm now going to move and ask for a seconder so that we can move into our public excluded business. Seconder, please. Thank you, Rick. All those in favour?